to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Righty. It's another episode of The Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks. Brought to you by some very key sponsors. SIR Music Equipment Rental. We are up here in the land where it all started from in L.A. today. We're broadcasting from Westlake Studios in West Hollywood, which is a very cool place. A lot of history here. And we are on location as we tend to do sometimes. We also want to give some thanks out to our fun friends over in San Diego that are sponsors. We've got Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com where they just want you to play it loud. We have Stars Line Now. They've got a concert coming up on July 15th. Make sure you go out to see that. That's going to be in La Jolla. And then in partnership with the California Music Studios, where a lot of the students from that school are going to be performing. And we've got a very special guest here today, a gentleman who, he is pretty seminal in what's going on here in L.A. He comes from a lineage of just exceptionally talented people. Lamont Dozer Jr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine today. Glad to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Man, hey, it is good to be here. I appreciate you taking some time out. I know you got a busy schedule. Yeah. You're doing some recording here with Kevin.
Yeah, I'm working with Kevin Flournoy, who's a brilliant young producer. And I'm looking forward to the project that we're going to be working on, and it should be coming out shortly, hopefully by the end of summer or fall. So
awesome! We had a chance to talk a little bit, so we're going to have to, reiterate some of that stuff. It's an EP, right? It's
going to be an EP. It's going to mainly consist of 3 original tunes, and then we're going to do a cover of my dad's tune, Lamont Dozer Jr. from Invictus Records, and the audience may recognize the title, Why Can't We Be Lovers? So we're going to cover that classic,
Yeah, this is definitely, your dad has a big history. In fact, let's kind of start off. You were just talking with Darrell here, and you had mentioned that you're from Detroit. I know you guys didn't hear that on the air here, but we have some good conversations in between these segments. And you're from Detroit, and there's a very special reason. If you don't notice the name, you'll know a lot of the music that came out of there because your dad used to work for what label?
Yeah, Motown Records. Motown Records, and that's where he got his beginning. Actually, my mom worked at Motown in the marketing and distribution department, and she was there actually before my dad.
Wow,
he was recording at Anna Records, which was an offshoot of Motown.
Yeah.
Barry Gordy's sister ran that label, and he recorded under the name Lamont Anthony. And he was like 16, 17 years old with his first release. He was a young artist recording. Then Barry had a policy that he wanted his writers to write in tandem with, or 2 or 3s. And at the time, when my father came over to Motown Records, after he left Anna Records, he started to write with Freddie Gorman, who wrote Please Mr. Postman, and Brian Holland. And then consequently later on, his brother came into the mix. And the public audience may know them as Holland Dozier Holland, songwriting team that went on to write many hits for the Supremes, Four Tops, Marvin Gaye, Martha and the Vandellas.
Temptations, everybody.
Quite a few.
Yeah. So you grew up in Detroit around this, man. What was it like, brother? That was just like, it'd be crazy just running around. And you get Barry Gordy's just running around with Marvin Gaye hanging out, Shorts having like a ham sandwich, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it was all of that. It was very exciting, but I got a chance to see these great legends in a very personal manner. They were, I tend to look at them as very ordinary people with very public professions, but they were very talented as well. But it was just really exciting to be around and hear the music before it actually was released to the public. I was a little kid at the time, but I was privy to a lot of recording sessions and a lot of demos and stuff like that, so that was exciting. And then they'd have different affairs for the Motown kids and stuff, so you get all the kids of the performers together. So it was really interesting, but it was very normal.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're inside the bubble, it was normal for you.
Yeah, I would just crazy. You'd run around with some Jacksons,
Yeah.
and so some gays, whatever, just right there.
Yeah,
And it's just like kids like you would see out of school.
We would hang over at Barry Gordy's mansion in Detroit, and the one with the indoor bowling alley and the swimming pool and all of that stuff. So it really was interesting. It was interesting to see these future superstars go on and have such a huge impact in American music. It was really something.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's when you come from a lineage of music.
Yeah.
When did you finally go, this is my gig. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make my own, though I'm a junior, I'm going to make it, I'm going to be my own name. When did you hear that?
I think when I saw the Jackson 5, I wanted to, I saw them perform and I said, you know what? I want to be the Jackson 5 plus one. What they were doing was fantastic.
Yeah.
Had an influence on me. And also one of my first concerts I went to, I may be dating myself here, but my first concert was Sly and the Family Stone at the Olympia Stadium in Detroit, man.
I'm so envious because I would have loved to see Sly.
Oh, it was crazy. But the energy that came from the stage and the audience participation and how his music just moved the masses, I think at that time, man, that had a really good, strong influence on me that I wanted to do this for a living, you know?
Yeah.
Because I just saw how people were moved and how good everyone felt.
And the social commentary that he was, him and Curtis Mayfield, they were really talking about real stuff, Marvin with what's going on. So that was really, really crazy stuff. And so you started going. What did your dad say? What was his take on it all? Your mom too.
He I didn't get all my encouragement from my father because he was pretty busy. He would listen to us from time to time, but a lot of that encouragement came from my mom. Because my mom was a musician also, and she sang with James Cleveland singers, and she has a musical background as well, piano teacher and what have you. So she got me into it, and for myself, I started out singing in the church. And I started singing in the choir very young. I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And then they had me doing solos by the time I was 11, So
they had
after
expectations
that,
when you joined in, right?
Exactly. And then I would say a very important pivotal point in my life, my young life, was when I got involved with the Detroit Council of the Arts.
Okay.
And that was like a summer youth program.
Yeah.
And with that, they put you in situations where you had to perform in front of audiences and stuff, and you studied your craft, be it singing, acting, dancing, and of course I was in the singing department, and we got to perform in front of audiences in Detroit, which can be tough, even when it's free. You had to be very good,
Yeah.
But it was a great training ground and a great place to hone your talent and get very proficient at what you were doing. And that had an impact on me and helped my musical growth. And from there, I started doing it as a professional musician. I say I started as a professional musician at the age of 15. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you jumped right into it after singing with church and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So I know Darrell had a lot of church training back in the day. What was your experience like in Washington, Darrell, in comparison?
Well, I started late, though. I started like 15. I started in high school, and my choir director would bring me over to his church, and there were lots of great musicians. I've always experienced great musicians, and there was a standard that was never to go below. Otherwise, the choir director would just stop you and go on to someone else. So.
Yeah.
And that was Darrell Dexter here with us too. He joins us from time to time. A great friend, good singer, and music aficionado as well. So, it's interesting because we talk about this, and I brought that up that there's a shared experience. We don't seem to see that anymore in this day and age. What's your take, on that?
Well, I think it's a lot of different elements vying for young people's attention, and then it's different times too. We weren't so distracted. We found enjoyment in the tasks that were given to us. So if we joined a choir, we found complete joy doing that, singing. Or if you played sports, that was your thing. And some people they stayed busy doing a whole lot of different things. And unfortunately today it seems like the kids are more tech driven, and sometimes that,
as we're surrounded by cables,
you
computers.
Well, this is great to get our message to the people, but with here, it's great because we get to interact, and I think some of that interaction has been lost with the kids. Because a lot of those games and stuff you can play by yourself, and it takes you away from actually being in the room with one another. So we learn how to depend on one another, like in choir and sports like that. And that may be missing, unless for those that are pursuing it professionally, that may be missing just in a clandestine way, just to do it as a hobby or for fun. To just learn how to depend on one another, play together, work together, make music together.
And we were talking about that earlier. I grew up in Sacramento, which wouldn't think of as a musical city, but in my environment, I had a lot of key players that came out of there, whether it be rock, funk, or soul. Went on to do a lot of things. I think a lot of that has to do with school. I don't think the music programs are quite in the school. I know there's some states, Texas still has it, but California's pretty much squelched it. It's been tough, and that's why
Same in Detroit. They have suffered from cuts to public education, and that would definitely affect the arts. And when you affect that, it really curtails the outlet for the youth. Like I said, the Detroit Council of the Arts saved me, and excuse me, I don't know if they still have that in existence, but I think they're trying to revive it. And it would be a good thing if they did, because it would really help the youth channel some of that energy and help some people find maybe a talent they didn't know that they had. So,
And then I think, obviously, it's kind of tough because we're here in Westlake Audio, and Westlake Audio still has I was just mentioning to Paul, my producer, some of the stuff that we don't see anymore. A full SSL console with 80 channels. You don't see that in too many locations anymore. And then I just was surprised at I was looking at the track line, and he had the 480L was on. I'm like, really?
Oh yeah,
that was from the 80s, but it's still kicking good. It
sounds great, and the expertise and knowledge is still valuable, and it produces a fantastic product. But you have a lot of do-it-yourself studios at home that's going on today, and the technology and what's demanded in the industry has changed how music is made and how it's accessed. But just on my street alone, growing up in Detroit, we had the garage bands. We had so many musicians come out of that area, and just for play, we would just get together and make music.
Yeah, you'd find like that one little small amp and that guitar that was from that silver tone,
and run that extension cord to somebody's house. Get that electricity going, and there you go. You got your concert.
Yeah, and you just made that happen. It's like Larry Graham. The thumping and plucking, or slapping was created because he didn't have a drummer.
There you go.
So he needed to come up with something that would actually provide some type of rhythm and groove to it.
Isn't that amazing?
So I think too many crutches a little bit right now. So I mean, it's helpful. I can't say that I don't produce with it. I mean, when I produce, I'll use a Melodyne if I hear a little thing out of tune. Because you expect it now. You can't get away with what you used to get away with, where it just was a little pitchy, but there was character. Like you mentioned, Michael. I loved all his old, like when he was a kid, the vocal takes. Yeah, he had he's what 10, 12 years old, and there's going to be little pitch things, but without it wouldn't have the same character.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic, perfectionist, and like I said, he was one of my major influences for me to get into this game. But I would just love to see us commune together musically once again. I know things have changed, and people look at costs and location and all of that, but it's just a certain magic when everybody's in the room together.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a connection, even if it's just a simple conversation. We do a lot of what we do over the phone, but being here with you, talking, it's like we've known each other for a long time, man. And I think that the proximity kind of helps that out quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of get back a little bit to your career. So you started doing this professionally. What were some of the key milestones that kind of made a difference in your career?
Well, some of the things I did, when I was in Detroit, I did get involved with music theater. I was the Wiz. We did Detroit productions of the Wiz, and I played the Wiz. I also participated in radio. I also was featured way before American Idol and all that. We had a local talent show called the Saturday Night Music Machine, and I was on there and competed. And it was really great. We got great ratings and all of that stuff. And consequently, I ended up moving from Detroit to Atlanta and did some performing there. Moved back to Detroit, did some more performing. And so I was just cutting my bones as a live performer in nightclubs and did some studio and session work. And then consequently, opportunity brought me out here to California, and I've had the opportunity to perform around Los Angeles, where consequently that's where I met the great Kevin Flournoy.
Yeah.
And I was singing, and I brought him in as a keyboardist, and it was just magic.
Yeah.
And then we started to see other things we could do together, and I found out that he's not just a keyboardist, but he's a very talented, proficient producer.
Yeah, he is.
And so that led to us collaborating on the new EP that we're going to be working on my project.
Yeah, and you're looking at recording in this location, right? Is what you're thinking?
That would be a gift if I could. If I can get it to the Michael Jackson room, Studio D at Westlake. Who wouldn't want to be here? It's fantastic. I think his spirit is still here. You know, it's great.
Yeah, I see the glove walking through.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh snap, we're here.
You can't help but get involved. I mean, when you see the holograms on the wall and the records, it has a special magic to it. But you know, that's a testament to his excellence. You know,
and it's like a ride here. So a maze trying to fit. I don't know how we're going to get back to the car. We were. I don't know who the guy who helped us walk to get the equipment. I was like, how do you figure out your way around this joint? It's literally a maze. You know, you have to go through a kitchen, through this, walk upstairs.
Oh yeah,
you got to walk on your head. Next thing you know, you're like Willy Wonka going through a small door. I don't know.
I feel joy though when I walk through these doors. It's just fan. It has a great place to make great music.
I haven't been here since like the 80s. That was the last time I was here when I used to live here in Los Angeles. So it's kind of a little bit of kind of a homecoming here.
Yeah.
I like the history in San Diego, but I mean Los Angeles, but I love the weather in San Diego, like you heard.
Oh yeah. It's great down there.
It's already hot up here. So you've done a few things here. You've got your own label, from what I understand.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the independent label, and I would implore all musicians listening. That's the way it's done pretty much now. You know, if you can get signed to a major, that's cool. But running your independent label, even at some later date, if you choose to do distribution with a major, it teaches you all the ins and outs from the top to the basement on how to run your business in certain aspects of your career that you should be looking out for. And just by default, I know a lot of successful guys that are just doing it independently and having great success with it.
You know, and in fact, Ken Cregan, who was Lionel Richie's manager, and then also with Kenny Rogers and We Are the World, right? You know, it's like the big one. We were fortunate to have him on the show, and that was his exact same thing. Is like, you know, he doesn't suggest artists look for a major label at this particular time, unless there's specific reasons from a financial standpoint that they're going to put real money into you, but they're not. They're looking for the already set artists at this particular point. They want you to have 1 million followers on YouTube, 1 million on Facebook, and you know you're already selling records. And then it's like, well, why do I need you now? Yeah,
that is the dilemma for an independent artist, especially if they're experiencing just marginal success. You have to, make a decision on if I'm going to be, exposed to a larger mass audience. Is it worth it, or do I keep performing for my fans that I've garnered on my own and keep creative control of my career? That is really something that moving forward that people will have to do. But you'll know the business. And from my experience, that's who's getting signed now are the people that already have established themselves. It's really a catch-22. It's like, I want to get a major contract, but then you have to do all the things as your own major. You basically have to sign yourself to get the attentions of the majors. So there you go.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and we were talking about the business, and he's a contractor, and he's trying to have his band. He's got a 14-piece horn band, and shout out to Phil. We were talking about it, and it's kind of interesting. This has been the only industry where you can be, a business person without being a business person.
Oh yeah,
because you can be a complete screw up in your life. You see that with some of these great people, these great artists, but they're like these amazing talents.
Oh yeah,
I think that day is done. If you're in the carpentering business, you better be damn sure that you're a good businessman as well as a good carpenter. You won't be able to compete. Same thing if you're a plumber. Same thing if you're a lawyer. It doesn't matter. You have to have your business acumen on as well as your art. Same thing with this one. So I think that's a key thing for us as we move forward, that all people are going to have their business sense on as well as their artistic sense. And kind of with that said, I know that's what we were talking about. I can sense that you have businesses. What's one of the things that your label and your project's going to do differently to kind of set you apart from some of these other ones that are coming out right now?
Well, I don't know if I would describe it as differently, but what I want to do is bring back, if you will, or revisit soul music, live music experience for the audience. I want them to have that sensation that I had when I first saw that Sly and the Family Stone concert. I want that feeling when you're in the room with someone that's really talented, doing something remarkable with their art, and that's moving people in a very strong and powerful way. I would like to have that type of resurgence going on with my music and kick the door open for other artists that have the same mindset. We just want to bring back that feeling of that talent is in the room and something special is going on here. So we work really hard to hone our craft and really hard to bring something special to the people, because I think we get a cookie cutter kind of approach to music nowadays, and everybody's chasing the heat of whose ever sound is hot, when really people need to find out their lane, who they are musically, and then just push that. I'm not saying be dated or anything, but just be current with it, but be honest and have that authenticity to be yourself talent wise, and just give the people what they need. Think about what you would like to see if you were to go see an artist. How would you like to be moved? And I keep that in mind when I'm performing my music or putting music together. What would I like to see? And that's what I push forward, and that's my goal. So when people come see me, it's something special going on.
Yeah. So Darrell, do you have any, after hearing all that stuff, as an artist, do you have any questions that you want to shoot at Mr. Dozer here?
Well, I don't know. We were talking about auto-tune and all that stuff, and then performing live. So now, how are you going to compete with those people doing auto-tune and performing live? Because now you either have to make them come to you and get out of the studio so people can actually hear them and what they really sound like, or how do you compete with that?
It's one of those things where I don't see it as a competition per se. I just see it as this is what I do, if I'm understanding the question correctly, because when people come see me, there's a certain, like, I've been performing in Los Angeles now for 2 to 3 years, and there's a certain show that they expect when they come see me. My band's all live. We don't use tracks. The flip side of that is I have some very fantastic musicians, and they can make everything sound like a record. And the other side of that is I try to sing on pitch as much as I possibly can. I don't use a device that will automatically tune my pitch within the milliseconds. So sticking with that authenticity, I think people should strive for just musical excellence. If you're a singer or a musician, that's what you want to keep striving for, and you also want to make sure that the people that you're playing with gel together. The particular unit that I'm working with now, we've been playing together for over 2 years, so we have cultivated a sense of what to expect from one another and everything like that. So when someone is using autotune, when they see one of my shows, hopefully they will go away and say, "God, how does he do that?" And that they will be moved to keep honing their craft where they don't have to rely on a device per se. Hopefully that is the case, because back in the day they didn't have all these devices. They really didn't. It was a certain standard that you had to come up to if you weren't there, and it was really tough.
I heard Gordy make a child cry in studio.
Him and those producers were wicked. They were, and then the thing about Motown also too, they had A&R departments. They had people that taught you how to move, how to dress, how to dance on stage, how to carry yourself when you were off stage. Because at the time, not only were they representing the label, but they were representing African Americans, because that was the first time they were getting airplay from a pop perspective, it was going all around the world. So they made sure that the artists were prepared before they went out into the world, and that they were representing themselves and representing their music and the label. So I applaud them for that. But you don't even see that now.
Yeah, there's no development.
It's a lot of
projects.
Yeah,
I think people like Kevin. I mean, we keep coming back to Kevin, but that's why we're all here too. Is he brought us all together? Kevin's really doing a good job at cultivating and developing talent. So, and I think that's really what it's come down to, is that individuals with a vision and a foresight to really kind of impact the industry. You know? So with that said, with all these talents, to kind of the segue, as we close out this segment here, what advice would you like to share with the young listeners right now that are trying to navigate this business? Because no one really knows how to make it anymore. It's kind of catch or catch can. Whatever you can come up with, and if it sticks, it sticks, right?
It's something like that. But what I want to impart to the young ones coming into the business, and also to the older ones who are in an industry where it changed up on them, and they're left floundering, trying to find out which direction to go to, I would like to tell everybody, learn as much as you can about what you love to do. And if you love to do it, it will carry you through the process. You really have to, if this is what you're going to choose to do for a living and you really love it, learn everything about it. Another thing they might want to realize too, there's all types of aspects of success in the music industry. We need good songwriters. We need good producers. We need great singers.
Yeah.
We need great teachers of singers. We need great coaches. It's all type of things that you can look at. We need great publishers as well. And all of these things that I just mentioned can be done independently.
Yeah.
And some people have taken their acumen that used to work at majors and they formed their own boutique services that they offer to up-and-coming independent artists. So please look at all the levels in this industry. It's not just one thing that you can do and be successful at. And having said that, I still go back to, if you love it, your love for your craft and your passion for it will carry you through the tough times if it's in your heart. And if it's not, it'll shake you loose and you'll go do something else, because it's not a business for punks. So you'll either get it right or you won't, because this is not, over time it weeds out who's real and who isn't.
This is not a business for punks.
No, it's not. It's not. It'll punk you out if you're not careful. You got to be careful pursuing this industry, because it's not for the fly-by-night. It's something that you really want to persevere. It's not given to the swift, but it's given to the cats that hang in there and love their craft and have a passion for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lamont.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's been a great time. This has been The Changing Stage here at Westlake Audio Studios. Thanks to Mr. Kevin Flournoy, who's out in the studio right now making it happen, making that sound happen. I want to thank WS Radio for giving us a broadcasting channel and being the leader in worldwide talk for internet, as well as our sponsors, SIR Music Equipment Rental, Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, Stars Align at Stars Align. Now make sure you go check out the concert on July 15th if you are in San Diego. If not, fly in, because you don't want to miss it. There's going to be 50 performers. It's crazy. They're going to have. Actually, it's funny. We had Kevin on, and he knew he would work with a few of the performers. He didn't even know they were going to be in this concert. So it's kind of good that we're getting out there and sharing that. And then California Music Studios, who are out there educating people in the Southland. If you've got kids, you're listening to this, and you think they want to have a career in music, California Music Studios is a good place to go to. And then just want to remind everybody, we've got the Rock and Roll Reunion coming up here this month, and then next month we've got the Aristocrats over at UCSD. So remember that, and we'll be back here in a few short minutes for another segment.